Now, here's your first alert weather update.
Good evening, everyone. Things are finally starting to calm down around the Mid-Ohio Valley as the winter storm moves out of the region. And I know it was a little bit of a disappointment to many, including myself, who was expecting much more snow than we got today. But there is an explanation to it, and we've touched on it a little bit ago, myself and Thomas, throughout the day today. But let's start off with something a little bit more lighthearted. There was at least one family who did enjoy today's festivities. And of course, it's the same family, the Reed family, who's been giving us beautiful snow sculptures of different characters or events for several winters now. They've the same people we've covered who gave us Garfield last winter and Snoopy during our last snowstorm back in December. And this time they went with the Olympic rings ahead of the 2026 Olympics. That'll be starting here, coming up, I believe, in February. So we have something to look forward to, and it's absolutely, once again, they knocked it out of the park. Now, switching gears in terms of photos to something that's a little bit less fun is the freezing rain that we had gotten earlier did accumulate on many of the trees, especially around Park. A couple photos from Amber Sanford of Belpre of some of the trees that were covered by some of that freezing rain. We got, I'd say, a little under 1/10 of an inch, but it was still something that did accumulate across much of the Mid-Ohio Valley due to that warm wedge that did surge up well to the north of where it was expected to go as we went through the day today. The good news is we didn't get quite enough freezing rain to cause any major issues on power, at least not that I had heard from or seen or anyone had, but we definitely both got unlucky and lucky with this system. Now, I know when it comes to snow totals, people were disappointed that, or at least some people were disappointed that we didn't get what we were originally expected, but I went ahead and crunched the numbers a little bit earlier this evening after the last bit of the snow had melted, and I have a bit of a metric to you. If everything that fell today was snow, and that's counting the about 1/2 inch of sleet and freezing rain that in total, using the general 10-to-1 snow ratio, Parkersburg, Belpre, and the surrounding area would have been closer to about 9 inches of snow by the end of the storm, which the last bit of snow has moved out of the region, at least for now. We're not looking at much in the way of anything accumulating for the rest of the night. And that makes sense given the general nature of the storm. It was a lot snowier up towards the northwest. I know in Lancaster, I have a friend there that mentioned they were a bit closer to about 10 inches of snow, and then another friend up in Columbus that was closer to about 13 inches. And another interesting metric, 78 out of the 88 counties of Ohio issue snow emergency warnings. All 78 counties that issue those snow emergency warnings were at least at level 1 or higher during today's event at some point, and more than half of them, or right around half, were at level 3. And that includes several counties around the Mid-Ohio Valley and even up towards Columbus. And in Franklin County, something that I had seen earlier, it's the first time that they actually had a level 3 since the system was initiated several decades ago. So a couple really cool things. So let's move away from that and go into what's happening now. Well, in short, not much. There are some snow flurries on the radar a little bit to our south, down towards Roane and Calhoun counties, a little bit into Wirt County, but overall, not much in the Mid-Ohio Valley, and we're not expecting much more throughout the rest of the night tonight. Though the last little round of frozen precipitation and snow did start to cover up some of the side roads and some of the non-major roads once again that had been cleared, at least in downtown. 2nd Street was plowed a little bit earlier this evening, but it's been covered up once again by that sleet and snow that fell after about 4 p.m. here in Parkersburg. You know, it's also going to, and it already has, mostly frozen back over tonight because we've plummeted in our temperatures back to about 20 degrees, and it feels a little bit closer to about 12. Now, jumping over to Ohio for a second, and the camera has gone dark for a moment. What I can tell you about what this was showing on OGO was one lane around Ohio 7, around Route 7, there it is, and US 50 had been plowed. But this is a little worse than what we were showing earlier, right around 3 o'clock this afternoon. So definitely still looking at snow emergency levels across the Mid-Ohio Valley. Still a lot of level 3s around the area, and not expecting this to change all that much, as roads are still expected to be very icy, especially looking at black ice as we head into tomorrow morning. For the Mid-Ohio Valley, still looking at level 3s in Washington, Athens, Morgan, and Meigs, and then level 2s down in Noble and Monroe. Now, after we see a lot of this start to quiet down, temperatures are going to keep dropping over the next several hours. It's not going to drop all that much. Our rate of cooling is slowing down, but we're still expected to get to about the mid-teens by the end of the evening tonight under these cloudy skies that'll continue to last through Monday as well, which it's not going to get all that warm Monday. Highs in the upper teens with wind chill values, more paying attention to those, down towards those mid to low single digits. And if you start looking more towards the end of the next 24 hours, that's where you'll start seeing low double-digit temperatures with starting to get into the negatives when it comes to that wind chill. Now, our focus for the next several days is going to shift from winter weather and precipitation to that cold, partially with the black ice on the roads tonight into tomorrow morning, and the very cold temps that we're looking at later in this week. We do already have an extreme cold watch for the Mid-Ohio Valley that goes into effect Monday night at around 6 p.m., and that will last until noon on Tuesday when things start to warm up a little bit back above. And we do also have that extreme cold warning over to the west as well. So there's plenty of cold left to go for this entire week. And if we take a look at that temperature trend, there is plenty of it to come, only looking at highs in the upper teens to low 20s throughout the rest of this week, well into the weekend as well. But there is a sign we may see temperatures a little bit closer to freezing on Sunday, but that is still a full week away. But it's the low temperatures that we're paying a little bit more attention to. We've got low temperatures around the low single digits to even getting below zero for actual temperature. So we saw it once before back in January of 2025, but we could start seeing some of the larger rivers start to freeze over. I'm not sure if we're going to see them completely frozen, at least not the Ohio, but it's definitely going to start freezing, especially along the shallower parts of the Ohio, the Muskingum and the Little Kanawha River over the next couple of days. And however, the good news is, at the very least, that we will start to see at least drier conditions over the next week. We do have another very small chance of snow around Wednesday night into Thursday, while we still have these first alert weather days ongoing, but we're not currently expecting any type of accumulation from that system at all. But it is still going to be very cold, and we're not going to see too much of the sun over the next week. So when it comes to roads getting cleared, it is going to take a little bit extra time than it normally would if temperatures had come back up above freezing because of how cold it is. So you'll want to be patient as road crews continue to work to try to get roads clear. And it may take a few days for some spots just because of how cold it has been. It's going to be a little bit harder to get some of that ice off the roads, especially on some of the back roads or some of the side roads across the Mid-Ohio Valley, really. So I'm going to go back over a couple things again. If you have any questions for me or any clarification you want me to run through, I have the chat up and I am keeping an eye on it. So feel free to look into it as well, and I will answer when I can. So, very quick update. We're done with snow overall. We're just the snow is basically over. There are a few snow showers to our south, but we're not expecting anything accumulating here in Washington County, over in Athens County for the rest of the night. We could see a couple flurries heading into tomorrow morning, but overall, not much. Temperature-wise, we are getting very cold out there in the Mid-Ohio Valley. Temperatures hovering around that 20-degree mark in our region. Only going to get a little bit cold as we of the night tonight. Over the next 24 hours, we will see a little bit more of a drop towards those mid-teens under these overcast skies, with enough wind to send wind chill values down into the mid to low single digits. So both with that and the very cold temperatures that we're also looking at tomorrow, roads will still be very, very bad, especially with the chance of black ice for the region. And I saw someone, will we still be on a level 3 in Washington County tomorrow morning? I cannot say for certain, but I certainly wouldn't expect a downgrade to level 2. So I would be prepared for things to still be a level 3 tomorrow, just until they can get the roads clear enough to declare a downgrade. But I cannot say for certain, as it is not my decision. That is the decision of the sheriffs of each county, of course. But I would expect things to still stay about where they are when it comes to snow emergency levels as we head into tomorrow, at the very least. Not sure about later in the week, because it all depends on how quickly they can get the roads clear, especially some of those back roads. Now, focus for the rest of the week is going to be on temperature specifically. We're going to be very cold over the next week, and that's just what it's going to be like. We will be drying out a little bit, but temperatures will be hovering in the upper teens to low 20s, with low temperatures even lower, closer to about those low single digits, some days even potentially getting into the negatives. And there is enough wind, which is why we have several days still under first alert weather days for the potential for temperatures to get that cold. I'm holding off on Sunday at the moment for the temperatures on Sunday look to be coming up a little bit, so I'm holding off on declaring Sunday one as well for now, until we get more information about what the winds will look like and what Sunday night is going to look like. And Carol, I am also grateful. Even though it's not what I wanted, it's better than we've seen in some places, especially around West Virginia. It could have been a lot worse. I just like having snow rather than ice, and I think most people do. But you are absolutely right. If there is anything else, I'm going to wait a moment because I know it's a little bit ahead. But we are looking very cold. Continue to be keeping all updated with temperature-wise over the next several days. But the good news is, if you're sick of the winter precipitation, apart from Wednesday night, we should be clear of that for the next 7 days, apart from Wednesday night, and potentially a couple flurries Monday morning. But accumulating snow, we are done with completely. But for now, that is where I'm going to end things off for this evening. Thank you all so much for joining, and I'll be doing another update during our 11 o'clock newscast later on tonight. Have a great night, everyone.